Hi there, Mr. Evans here, and this video looks at tool and flat hierarchies. So it's in this section here on organisational design, and I'm going to go through nearly all of these terms in this video. So organisational design, defined it in the last video, the way in which a business is arranged in terms of job roles and communication flows. And there's a number of different ways you can organise your business. Two of those ways are you can have what would be described as a tool organisation. I defined the terms chain of command and span of control in the last video. So the chain of command is the number of layers in the hierarchy. Okay, so there's a rough chain of command going down here with this person at the top. And orders can be passed until they get to the bottom of the organisation. Now, so a tool structure, it has quite a long chain of command. There's quite a lot of layers in this hierarchy, but there are short spans of control. So each manager isn't in charge of many people, whereas this organisation here is a flat structure, which is characterised by short chains of command. So there's far fewer layers in this organisation, and that should actually read they have got wide spans of control. So what that means is each manager might be in charge of quite a lot of people. So you've got very big teams. One manager, in the tool structure, it's got a lot of layers. Each manager maybe manages, 4 or 5 people, whereas with a wide span of control, each manager in the organisation may manage, a team of 30 people, for example. Okay, so the features of a tool structure. So we've got a lot of layers in this structure, and each manager has a relatively small team of people reporting to them, a narrow span of control. So what are the features of that? Well, it should lead to more managerial control and support because we've got relatively small managerial team. Each manager is only managing a small team of people. Those people within the team can easily access their manager, ask for support if they need it. The manager is able to oversee their work, supervise them much more closely, and provide them with the support that they need. There can be lots of promotional opportunities within an organisation where there is a lot of layers. When people leave, there's plenty of managerial positions basically, so it's good for staff motivation in that way. You can argue that it may be less stressful for workers. Right? If I can ask my boss regularly, because they're only managing me and 3 other people, then hopefully that means my life might be a little bit less stressful because I can get my problems sorted fairly quickly. This is really useful to use this in situations where consistency is important, where safety is important. So there are quite tools, structures used in the army, for example, or places like McDonald's where they want consistency. It's also very useful, obviously, when the managers have got a lot of information about how to complete the role in the most efficient way. So basically when managers are the expert, or in a time of crisis where quick decisions need to be implemented, a tool structure would be really, really helpful because of the nature of, we can quickly make a decision at the top, it gets passed down and it gets implemented. However, there are higher overhead costs due to the wage bill. If lots of people are able to achieve managerial responsibility, that's great, but you need to reward them for doing so. So these can have quite complex wage bills and higher wage bills than if there's just 2 or 3 layers in the company. It's great that I can access my manager as well if I'm feeling stressed and I don't really know what to do, but also maybe it feels like I've got someone checking over me all the time and I'm not being trusted to get on with the job, or maybe I've got a very overbearing manager who's trying to micromanage my work which would potentially lead to low morale and a lack of commitment. And sort of training that you would get in this sort of structure is you're training people for skill development. Can you do this? Can you do that? The workers are very functional with the managers telling them what to do. The features of flatter structures, so this is the structure where there's far fewer layers in the hierarchy. The people at the top of the organisation are much closer to the people at the bottom, and each manager has a much wider team. Perhaps 30 in the team compared to say 4, 5, 6. So there's going to be much more emphasis on delegation and empowerment in this organisation. If you're at the bottom, there's a lot of roles that need to be carried out. The manager is going to be very busy managing 30 people, and so the manager can't be responsible for lots of stuff, and will need to trust their staff to complete roles and delegate roles to staff, giving them empowerment, allowing them to make decisions, because they're going to have greater responsibility. All right, this requires that managers empower staff to make decisions. If you've got a team of 30 people and every single little decision needs to be ran past the manager, that's not going to be possible to do. So these flat structures, they give people the ability to make decisions on their own, which is great because it allows greater responsibility, higher morale. If you think back to the Hackman and Oldham model, if you're trusted and you feel that you have a say in how you run your job, it's going to lead to those 3 psychological states. There is, however, the potential for stress. So if your manager is managing 30 people and you're not sure what to do, or you're not sure the best way to complete a task, or you've been told to do something, empowered to do it, but you're not 100% sure how to do it, that could be stressful, especially if you've been told you're responsible for it as well. So that could be a disadvantage of this structure. However, the management are much closer to the final consumers. So, if you imagine these are businesses and the final consumers are at the bottom here, the directors at the top of the organisation are much closer on a flat hierarchy to the customers than at the bottom. That might mean that better decisions are made by managers because there's fewer layers of communication, so it's less like Chinese whispers. They hear what the customers really want. This is the kind of environment that might foster creativity. So, if you trust your staff, you allow them to get on with stuff, you're not constantly looking over them all the time, telling them how to do things, then hopefully this should lead to a situation where staff can be very creative. And, rather than training for skills, I'm not saying that doesn't happen, but we're coaching to develop staff into being responsible, empowered individuals. So, final thing, just to make sure these are the key terms that are specified on the specification you need to know. So delegation is one of them. Delegation occurs when a manager gives the authority for the completion of the task to a subordinate. And authority is the right to complete a certain task or goal, and it gets passed down the hierarchy. So we get delegated authority to do stuff, okay? And that comes down the hierarchy. Responsibility is when somebody is made accountable for the completion of a task or goal. So, the responsibility for completing actions tends to go upwards. You can pass authority down, but as a manager, okay, I've been given responsibility for doing something, I'm going to give authority to somebody in my team to do it, but ultimately I'm responsible for making sure that occurs. So you can pass authority down, but responsibility does tend to lie with the person at the top of the organisation. And when you hear things have gone wrong in organisations, like the Deep Horizon oil well disaster at BP, ultimately the person at the top of BP at the time, I think it was Tony Hayward, was made redundant because he had responsibility for ultimately that company at that time. We've kind of talked about span of control and hierarchy, but span of control, the number of people a manager line managers, and the hierarchy is the number of layers in an organisation. Next video, I'm going to look at